to see you again, Kaya. Thanks a lot. Yay.
Lucia, is it Lucia? Is that right? So yeah, if you want to, whilst we wait to start officially, if you want to add where you are in the in your little name thing, if you rename yourself with where you are, that's kind of nice to have a rough sense of where you might be and what time zone you're in, whether you're morning, afternoon, or in the middle of the night, in the watch of the deathly hours.
So Vidyadasa will die at lunch today, and I'm dying during dinner.
I'm hoping to come back alive for the afternoon, but we'll see.
I might just go straight to bed after that. wait till the morning.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, actually, if you want to put in the chat if you have any experience of like death reflection practices, anything of that nature, that would be good. Yes, Claire, keep yourself at lunch, alive at lunch. Good. Yes, please. Yeah, nobody's allowed to die on this call. I will not be held responsible, okay?
Just in a metaphorical sense.
Yes, exactly.
I'm very curious about, because I know that Kai, you were obviously also offering your assistance, being a coachee in one of my sessions. But how many sessions have you all attended so far? Maybe you want to share in the chat, because some of you, I see you in a bunch of them. I'm impressed how many sessions you're getting in.
Yeah. Minute places.
3 live, 6 altogether.
7. Gosh, you're going to be totally EYP fried like an egg at the end. So yeah, if you want to put in the chat whether you've done a death reflection or something of that nature before, whether formally or informally, that would be helpful for me to know. Death meditation with Karin, good. There'll be similarities for sure. Done a death ritual, great. Ceremonial burial, yeah, great. How did you
and obviously
go ahead.
No, just to mention for whoever is watching this on the stream, we're going to keep track of your comments as well. So if you're present with us and you want to share equally, just comment on the stream and we can include in here.
Okay, so Lisa Lotta is saying Shavasana at the end of a yoga class is my experience of death pose and a death meditation from Osho at the Humaniversary. Yeah, good.
We're also on the hour.
Yeah, so we can start whenever you're whenever you want to. A couple other people coming in now. I think we can start, shall we?
Where's Steve gone?
Let's wait for Steve to come back. Oh yeah, is he doing the some of the intro thing, or is that yourself?
I will do the intro. It's just about the okay, I'll just hit record. Voila. It looks like we've just lost our tech host, but that's all right. We've got it all covered. You might have entered death pose already, because this is what the current session will be all about. And some of you, we've asked you just now, I have already attended a bunch of our sessions during this EYB masterclass series. Some of you have done 7, some 6, some live, some recorded. Just to mention again, if you're watching the recording or the live stream, we really encourage that you fully join us and get an experiential sense of what we offer and what we do, but always look for until what point does it feel right for you. And I'm sure Vidyadasa will repeat that as well once he will start his session on the death pose. But But yeah, just to give you an idea, normally we look at 3 different angles, and EYP can be brought into like 3 different contexts. And that's like for yourself, for your own self-development is one. So gaining deeper insights, learning about certain patterns, and also working on those would be one approach. The other is a coaching context. So it can be used in the frame of like one-on-one coaching, which I personally use a lot, and it has brought very quick win effective tools into my toolbox that I use every time I work with somebody, whether that's for giving some homework, some exercises, or simply working on gaining deeper insights. And the third way is to include it for any other yoga, like as a yoga teacher. And for that, it's really beautiful how some of the poses, a few, reflect poses that exist in traditional yoga, like the one we'll do today, but some are completely different. It's non-athletic, but you can easily include various qualities and the approach into usual yoga flow as well. And we'll speak to that a little bit today. We'll look at especially at the death pose in this session. But before we jump in, now I don't have the video ready because Steve isn't here. Maybe we can pull it up at the end. Yeah, some are like, I've seen that many times already. But still, I'm curious to hear from you who are present once again, what the purpose of your you joining is. Is it just for your own curiosity? Is it because you want to gain an insight into how it's applied in yoga, or how it's applied in coaching? If you want to pop that in the chat briefly, and then I will also jump straight in. All right. So just waiting for some personal growth, maybe. Yeah, we have a good mix coming in here. Applying it to self. And even if you're here as a yoga teacher, if you're here as a coach, the self-application is always part of that. All right. So since we don't have the video, let's jump straight in. And I'm going to briefly introduce our teacher, who has been, I think, my main teacher when I did the EYP teacher training initially. It was you, Vidyadasa, and Mark that I learned from. So I'm really excited to be here with you because you've been a major teacher, also creating this system of the 26 poses, and kind of one of the main teachers in the world in terms of senior, definitely creator. So there's some depth and experience here. All right. So let me just mention a couple of other points about you, because I think what's relevant to today's session especially is also that you are a Buddhist, a father, and an author, and you're inspired by embodiment-based practices and mindfulness-based hatha yoga. So you're bringing together various elements, and I think especially the Buddhist perspective and the yoga perspective combined influence what you'll be sharing with us today. And there might be some more depth. While maybe everyone is doing this pose in every yoga session, there might be another twist today that we'll present.
Thank you, Christina. I really appreciate you introducing me and the context with what we're doing here. So welcome everybody, whether you're here live in the Zoom room with me. Nice to see some familiar faces, to be with you here today. And of course, if you're watching on the live stream or on the replay, welcome to you as well. Now, excuse me, obviously in this context, I can only be aware of who's currently here live in the Zoom. So I really invite you to take good care of yourself, whether you're watching a replay or streaming otherwise. And I'm going to give you a few sort of little health and safety kind of tips and warnings as we do this practice, because it is a deep one. It can be really quite intense. So basically, it's really a kind of a reminder to us to live well, to lead a wholehearted, passionate, purposeful life. In a way, it's very easy to kind of just drift along and get distracted by all sorts of different things on a daily basis. But sometimes reminding us that our life has a limited lifespan, in a way, can really make us focus on what's important to us and kind of live from the heart really, and yeah, passion. So one of the things we all know is that we are going to die. We just don't know when and how. For most of us. So obviously, if somebody's got a long-term illness, then they know possibly how they're going to go. But any of us could die in this session. I really hope not. I invite you not to die in this session. But at any point, we never know. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be a few weeks, months, years, decades. But within 100 years, it's very likely all of us are going to be dead now. So just recollecting that actually we don't know when. We often imagine that we're just going to kind of keep going and then sort of fade off with our best friends around our hospital bed, and it's all going to be blissful and easy, etc., etc. It might be. In some cases, obviously, it is. In other cases, it really isn't. And it isn't always in good circumstances. But just leading our life with an awareness of death can be helpful. Now, what we don't want to do is kind of just introduce an existential anxiety to kind of paralyze your ability to live well. That's not the aim of this session. And if you are feeling quite sensitive or vulnerable right now, or if you've recently had a loss, or just generally you kind of suffer from anxiety or depression, for example, now probably isn't the time to be doing this practice for you, okay? Now, I know it can be really hard to kind of make these decisions, and particularly you've made this time in your diary, I really want to do this, I'm really intrigued, but actually, if your body starts giving you sensations that actually, I'm really not in the right space for this today, you start to have a sense of getting overly tight or tense or just feeling really morbid or whatever, you just feel actually, no, now's not the time. I really invite you to listen to that, and come out of the practice, just look around, do something really normal, have a cup of tea or coffee or, stroke the cat or dog or whatever it might be, and just kind of break yourself out of the practice. Like a lot of deep practices are doing it at the time that isn't right for you, in a way causes more harm than good. So, yeah, I know I've certainly done this practice or similar practices at times when I've been not quite in the right space, and it hasn't been as helpful as when I've been in a basically good space, and actually that's really made a big difference, and I've come out of feeling quite light-hearted and full of life, etc. So yeah, let's have a think. The other thing, just check my notes about all that. Yeah, there's really no shame in not doing it now. So you can just disappear from the session or recording if you feel actually, no, don't want to be doing it now. That's absolutely fine. So I'd like to I invite you to make a conscious choice to do this practice now. Of course, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do so you can choose, knowing what it is. We're basically going to sense our body as it is now with the kind of sensations of being alive and what's currently there. And then we're going to reflect on the very nature that we are going to pass away, and our friends and loved ones also will pass away. So it'll start to go down a layer and level into your experience of thoughts, feelings, sensations, and emotions. Yeah, so we're going deeper under the surface. So we'll be doing it somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. So it's enough time to kind of feel it intensely, but we're not going to leave you there the whole hour because that would just be too long and unkind. Yeah, usually the practice is done lying down. And if you want, you can have a cushion underneath your head or underneath your knees or legs to kind of make yourself comfortable. I'll just show you the pose. I mean, it's very similar to what's often used in yoga called corpse pose. So literally lying down, might not be able to see all of me, but the hands out to the side, palms facing up, and the eyes closed. Like I said, you can place cushions and things underneath your legs if that's going to make it more comfortable for you to be able to relax. I'm actually going to do it seated. And if you'd rather stay seated, if that's more comfortable for you for any reason, that's also fine to do it. And you could do it standing up if there's any reason physically that you would need to do it. So, having said those things, if you'd like to set yourself up so that you can be comfortable, please do. And I'll just keep an eye on the Zoom room and who's there and how that's when they seem ready. Make your little burial spot comfortable. And after this, we'll talk about how it can be relevant for coaching and also how it can be relevant and used in yoga teaching as well. And I'll make sure you kind of go out not too doomy and gloomy, but hopefully a little bit lighter as well, having gone into some of these things. Okay, so people look like they're basically set up and in position. So bringing awareness to your body as it actually is now. So sensing your body as you actually are now. Feeling the contact of your body with what you're laying on or what you're sitting on. Perhaps feeling the sensations of the clothes that you're wearing on your skin. Sensations of temperature in your body, whether you're cold or warm or hot. And then giving attention to the sensations in your body that tell you that you're alive. So it could be the rhythm of your breathing, actually feeling your body breathing. Could be a sense of movements of blood in your body. Or any other fluids kind of moving around, just having this sense of being alive now, present here, in awareness. And being aware that you're actually aware. An awareness of your awareness of being alive. Feeling that now, knowing that within you. And we're going to start the reflections. These sensations and experiences of our body being alive and breathing will change and end. There will be a time, we don't know when, how soon or how far away on our timeline, when they will stop. And we will no longer be breathing, we will no longer feel the sensations on our body. And we may not know what will happen next. You could have certain beliefs or from a religion or a teaching that you practice. But one thing we know for sure is this present form, the body that you're living in now, will change and die. It will pass away. There's no getting away from that. The warmth in your blood, the feeling of flow of blood and fluids moving around will slowly drain from your body. Maybe the bones will become minerals. Fluids will just come into the earth and become part of something else. A great recycling of all that's in your body, your organs, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue. front of your body, back of your body, arms and legs, all will dissolve, will become smaller and more condensed, or be scattered in the air. Your awareness of your body will stop, change, and you will die. People that you know will also pass away. Your friends, your family, people you like and love, and people you dislike, feel neutral towards, or even hate. They will all pass away. And you may have feelings around that. It's completely normal and natural. So being aware of whatever is present within you, trying to have a spacious awareness around them. Try not to let them rule you entirely, the thoughts and feelings and sensations. So being aware of what's happening within you now, listening attentively with care. And it doesn't matter how clever or beautiful or rich or poor you are, you will die. And your possessions will be passed on or sold to others, whether it's books and movies, cars, houses, companies. All of these things will pass. And even if you're famous, in the future, at some point, your name will also dissolve and disappear, like dust being blown in the wind. And it could be soon, could be a week, could be a month, could be a year, 10, 20, 30, 50. But in 100 years, it's very likely you, as you are now, will be dead. So with that awareness, feeling your body as it is now, notice everything within you, sensing that within you now. If there's any panic or any feelings or thoughts, something like that, bring awareness to your belly and let your mind kind of calm and settle into your belly. Trying to create a calm awareness of what's within you now. Making a little mental note of anything that you're experiencing. There might be helpful reflections there that you can come back to later. And then we can begin some questions, bearing in mind that awareness that you're going to die. How do you want to live? Given that it's likely you're going to come back to life shortly now, how do you want to live your life? What qualities would you like to live your life with? Maybe it's courage, bravery, generosity, kindness, clarity, focus, wisdom, care. Asking yourself what quality would be helpful for you to really bring into life. Allow your imagination, allow your embodied experience of yourself to give you some answers. And don't worry if nothing comes immediately. Sometimes we have to do this practice a few times for answers to arise. And maybe more practically, what do you want to do before you die? Is there a specific thing you want to focus on before you die? And who would you like to spend time with? Who are you going to share this precious life with? Maybe particular people will come to mind. It might be 1, 2, 3 more. It might be a whole community in mind. Who do you want to live this precious life with? And maybe there's someone or something you feel grateful for as you're alive now. Maybe somebody's given you life itself, given you something within life that feels of value and meaning and benefit to you. Calling to mind gratitude for this very life itself, perhaps feeling you're breathing again. If you'd like to, you can place your hands on your belly or your chest to sense your breathing. And to gradually start transitioning out of the depth of this practice. So feeling the signs in your body that you're still alive, those movements of fluids, sense of air moving in and out of your body, that precious life force, the breath of life moving in and out of your body. Feeling those sensations, seeing if you can enjoy those sensations. Feeling how it is to be alive. And perhaps gradually opening your eyes if they've been closed and becoming visually aware of where you are. Conscious of the space that you're laying or sitting in, and bringing a quality of appreciation to it, seeing if there's something beautiful or interesting to look at, hearing the sounds around you, feeling the ground beneath you. And then when you feel ready to, starting to feel and bring little movements into your hands and your feet, your body in any way, just bringing a little bit of regular movement back into your body, moving in any way that's helpful for you. Taking your time, but transitioning out of the depth of that practice, making little stretches. Reaccustomizing yourself to being where you are now and how you are now. And when you feel ready to, without rushing, coming back towards the screen so I can check that you're actually still alive. Hopefully you are. If we haven't killed off anybody. So yeah, coming back to the screen and just taking a moment to come back to seated and having a little think about what did you notice in that? Was there any little personal learnings in that you'd feel happy to share? You can write them in the chat, or if you'd like to say something, then you could put your hand up, and Christina, if you're willing to, you could unmute. So I'm aware, it can be a deep practice, or it might have been quite light for you. It varies person to person. But yeah, if you're willing to say some things, that'd be nice. So Lucia is saying, I love my life. Yay! Is that something you thought before, or is that something new? No, it looks like you love your life, generally. Yeah. Good. pleased to read it. Kaya, I felt a deep rest. Yeah, good. It can be quite peaceful sometimes. You're just kind of getting in contact with that kind of the substrata in a way, the kind of underlying knowledge in a way of who we are and how we are, and etc. Lisa, I'd like to spend some more time with me. Yeah, sounds good. I'm sure that would be really good for you and really nice for you. And I'm sure you're not alone in that as well. Sylvie, so grateful. Want to live from the heart with gratitude, kindness, speaking and living my truth. Yeah, great. Good. There's these kind of things that can appear, and you know, often we kind of know them, and other times it's just like a little reminder. It's like, oh God, yeah, I got caught up in this little drama about work, or talking about myself now, or whatever it was, and that, oh yeah, come back, focus here now. What's relevant? Yolanda, got emotional when I felt my hands, really truly felt my hands being alive. Yeah, it's interesting how little sensations can really become really clear. And like, oh wow, you know, we don't always give attention to the small things sometimes, and it's subtle sensitivities make a difference sometimes. Sylvie, Tandy, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. This practice might shift slightly the relationship I have with my emotional pain. Yeah, it can really change your relationship to it. My partner works a lot with people with chronic pain, and I think sometimes that knowledge and the perspective can help change, because it can be really difficult, both with physical and emotional pain. So different perspective sometimes. It's almost like we view life from above, a bit like a hawk or some eagle or prey. We're seeing it from above in a way. In fact, that's another less visualization you can do. Imagine your body down below, and you, as though, you know, your spirit, consciousness, whatever you want to see it, is above you looking down. What would you tell yourself? So McVandam, feel a little bit more like living. I'm desiring to live in a community, but don't find one. Well, may you find one, and may it arise before you. Felt at one with the universe. Great. Yeah, it can feel very connecting sometimes. Momo Miyaguchi, I like that death and gratitude were hand in hand. Yeah, and often they spontaneously, the relationship between the two can spontaneously really come out. You know, numerous people I've spoken with after PAX have gone, God, I feel so grateful to my parents for giving me life, or I just feel so grateful that actually I can live here in these conditions now, or whatever it is. So, yeah, disturbingly unperturbed by being dead. I like it, Ranko. That's great. Yeah, the practice can be really surprising, and it can go in all sorts of directions. You know, sometimes it's really like, oh, I felt really peaceful, and other times, you know, really deep fear might arise, or a real deep enjoyment, or something like that. It's, you know, I think often unconsciously we can have unconscious fears and anxieties sometimes. Or the opposite. Sometimes people are living life pretending that, hey, I'm not bothered about death, and then they start to think it and feel it. It's like, hold on a minute, there's some things I could do with looking at here. So sometimes life throws us little wake-up calls, but obviously with this practice, you can choose to focus on it and make it a conscious choice to go, hold on a minute, what am I doing in my life? What's of value and purpose to me and others? You know? Okay, so Pentry, I feel peace. Lately, I've had thoughts passing by about my death. During the pose, I felt neutral. Now I feel gratitude and want to live from my heart. Yay! See, it works. Works. Don't just trust what we say. Do the practice and it works. Great. Dory, I can see myself becoming dust and going back to the earth. Yeah, nice. Yeah. The more we get our imagination involved in it, and the depth of our emotional connection to it can be really intense. Like the Tibetan Buddhist schools and things, they imagine like worms and maggots eating out their eyeballs and feasting on our guts, and you know, vultures eating us and things like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously it depends on how your imagination and creativity is and how that affects you, you know. Traditionally, this practice will also be surrounded by doing a lot of loving kindness practice, a lot of other practices to do with well-being and mindfulness, so that there's enough emotional sustenance and nourishment for you to be able to face the reality of our own demise, that we're all doomed. Excuse my wee Scottishness coming out here. Tina, this was great. Like, pushed me to picture myself better where I want to be in life and why. Great. Good. Thank you. Thank you for all bringing all of those things in. It's really, yeah, it's really good to know and see and hear what this practice can do. So we're going to move into talking around how it can be used in a coaching context. I mean, in a way, if you're already a coach, you'll probably be full of ideas already. So I'll offer a few thoughts, and then maybe you can add in as well. So, so coaches and facilitators, you know, who is this useful for? So people perhaps that maybe drift along a little bit through life and kind of be like, oh yeah, go from this thing to another, yeah, it's all peaceful man, yeah, or whatever. Or they're just really not getting down to stuff that they have said to you they really want to do. Just bringing that timeline and the reality of that can really make them go, right, hold on a minute, I'm going to go for this now. Actually, this is important to me. I'm going to commit to it. Also, you have people stuck in like little anxious short-term goal things of, oh, I'm really worried about this little thing. It's like, hold on a minute, you're going to die. Is that really important? Maybe not, you know? So, yeah, so it's something around giving people the big picture, inviting them to have the big picture can be really helpful, both in terms of everything really matters and also nothing matters. You've got that kind of Zen koan quality to it. It's like, oh, it's all really precious and important, and doesn't matter if I'm not here tomorrow. Okay, it might matter to my daughter, maybe to my partner, my family, but otherwise, you know, so what? I'm gone. I came, I've gone. You know, and sometimes it takes a while to kind of get to that point. You can use it to explore things around what is your life calling, your purpose, your passion, you know, really getting in touch with those things. You know, I certainly have come out of this once and going, I'm going to write a book. In fact, I'm going to write it now and I'm going to start and blah, 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 and it all just flows out. You know, it's like your intuition, your imagination reveals things within. So you can ask people also, you know, what do you want to do before you die in certain periods of time? You go, right, okay, in the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And you can really drill down to, okay, how are you going to make that happen? What are you going to do to make it happen? You know, financially, how are you going to be able to have a pension, etc., whatever it might be. Or it might be good for people also that have been very career focused, for example, and they're a bit stuck in that, and actually they want to make a change. You know, sometimes people go, right, actually, I just want to travel around the world and do this and do that, or do something completely different. So we could do a brief little inquiry around that, if you'd like. So we're not going to go through the whole death reflection process again, but just kind of ask a couple of questions and to see what comes out in response to that, just as a little example in a way. And in a way, we included a little bit of this in that practice. So yeah, so just take a moment, come back to your body awareness. So this could be done with a coaching client. It could be standing in front of you or sitting in front of you. Doesn't need to be the whole lying down, the whole Monty of doing it that way. Just be sitting or standing. And yeah. What would you like to do with the rest of your life? Just give yourself a moment to allow that question in. What would you like to do with the rest of your life, knowing that you're going to die, that you will pass away? Just see what, if any response comes up from that. And then let's take it down another level in terms of, okay, so thinking in a time frame in the next year, what would you like to focus on in relationship to that thing you said you wanted to do more of, or what you want to do? So in the next year, what are you willing to commit to and focus on? Knowing that your life will pass away, What's important to you to do in the next year? And don't worry if you don't have an immediate answer. It's something you can reflect on over time or write about, whatever. And sometimes the body will offer an idea. Okay, and another question. What would you like to be remembered by? If there was something you could do in your life or some quality that you have or express, what would you like people to remember you as, or as having done that thing? What would be your legacy? What will you leave behind that others might find helpful, rejoice in some way or another? And again, don't worry if you don't know. This is something you can think about later and brew over a cup of tea or something. And be aware of your body if there's any particular sensations that you felt during that little inquiry. Any little golden nuggets you can take away from that. And if you'd like to type something in the chat about anything you noticed from any one of those, feel free to do so. And as you do that, I'll just mention a couple of things. So you could integrate this into your coaching practice or facilitation practice at certain phases. So it could be, for example, when coaching has reached a plateau or something. Maybe people have gone through some big things or whatever, then suddenly they kind of it's almost like they're repeating patterns or something, and they need a little wake-up call. It could be very useful at that point. You just need some extra juice to take it further or deeper. It's like a depth charge. Mark and I often joke when we're teaching, we're kind of like, take off the grenade and throw the grenade in the class. And it's like, of course, not trying to kill anybody, but, it's that wake up, that boom explosion of what happened in my life, I'm watching a lot of this TV series called Chicago Fire at the moment. It's all this urgency of these amazing, intense things and people's life being saved by them. And it's really super intense. And you can see how it affects their lives. Obviously it's a drama, but it's like, right, okay, don't take life for granted, Okay, so Van Dam has said, I would like to live in a spiritual community, be a gardener, cook, healer, choir, organizer, in a nice climate with nice people, open and serious, sweetness, knowledge, but now there is nobody. Okay, but well-being of me and kids. Yeah, so this is great. So these inquiries can give you a focus, and kind of go, right, okay, this is what I want. And then the next, if we were doing a coaching now, I'd be like, okay, well, where are you going to look? How are you going to find out about these places? There are books, there are websites, there are communities that are inviting people in. There's places like Findhorn and all sorts of places that you can go, okay, how are you going to act and make that happen? You can come down to the actions. Okay, what will you take responsibility for to try and make happen? Yeah, so obviously in coaching, these sort of dynamic relationships can happen out of that kind of rapport. You may have. So Rosa, I'm doing what I want to be doing. I want to leave the earth without a mark, perhaps a little healed. Nice touch. Yes, that's in a way the kind of the traceless, trackless thing that sometimes Zen Buddhism talks about as well, in a way like only leaving a footprint that fades in the sand. Yeah. And other people might be really different. There's like, I want to build a company. I want to build a big multinational, ecological, big thing that does this and helps it all. Of course, both are fine. Really, it's about tuning into your own life calling and purpose and what is an honest expression of your heart and your deepest thoughts, views, beliefs. contribute to world peace one person at a time, helping people bring that peace and the reconciliation within. Yeah, lovely. Great. So, you know, some quite specific things can come and some really big, broad themes as well. And in coaching, obviously, if you're a coach, you'll know that in a way you can move towards the minutiae, the detail of it, or expand it out. So like a lens, you can go really focused, okay, well, okay, how? What is it you're going to do in your body, your mind today that's going to make you one step closer to achieving that? Yeah. And other times, okay, how are you going to do that in the next 10 years? Or what's the biggest perspective you can have to that? Essa says, it's triggering this part of me that thinks life too short and I've started too late with building skills and learning things. Yes, I mean, it's a really big one. I mean, I totally get that. And again, I love this phrase, live like you're going to live 1,000 years, but don't waste a minute of it. And for me, that feels it's really accepting of, okay, the duration and there's a kind of pace. Okay, yeah, I've got time. And also don't waste it, because tomorrow we could be done. You know? But yeah, whenever you start, you know, there's always something you can do. I really believe that. Being playful in what I'm doing for myself and others. Fantastic. Yay. So yeah, I'm intrigued. If you're a coach or facilitator, have you got any ideas about how you might use this? And Christina, if you want to mention any ways that you've used this in coaching. Again, feel free to unmute yourself or ask to be unmuted or type in the chat. There's a lot I want to bring more joy, especially to kids in my books, teaching them about their bodies and joy. Yay! That's clear. Anybody want to say?
I mean, I can only, you mentioned so many possible ways to use this in coaching. It's mainly about decisions, I think, or like being at that crossing point of like, what do I do? Is this job or relationship or whatever still serving me? And then to bring clarity to that. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, again, that long-term thing, I suppose, if you're relying on your deathbed in that hospital, surrounded by your loved ones, and you think back to what you're doing now, would you want to do more of that or not? You know, and sometimes people go, I'm going to leave my job, or I'm going to leave that relationship. Think before you do those things. Talk to a friend, talk to a counselor, therapist, sleep on it, give yourself some time and space, make sure it is the right decision. Sometimes those decisions are totally bang on and intuitive and just right, and other times it's just because you're feeling a particular thing at that time. So take care if you're having any of that going on. Momo, play, perform, be creative with others, myself, inviting myself and others to be creative with how we decide to experience reality. Yeah, nice. That kind of co-creating things and as facilitating wholeness inside myself and others. There's always a way and time in the world of richness we live. Yeah, nice. Yeah, every little moment can make a difference. Yeah, discover or be reminded of personal values. Brilliant. Cool. So I'm going to come back to yoga teachers. So obviously, if you're a yoga teacher, you'll be very familiar with corpse pose, Shavasana, where you lie down and have your hands out the side and eyes closed, you're going into your experience. Now, often that's done at the end of a class. Now, sometimes that's not the kindest place to do it because people don't have time to then process and feel like, hey, I want to jump back in and you know, I've done this on my lunch break. I'm going to go back to work now, and I don't really feel like doing that, or I don't feel like meeting that person, or whatever it is. Can create quite a discord. So in embodiment training, we often talk about the U curve. So you start with something light. So maybe that's some regular hatha practice or whatever, something to get you into your body to enjoy being alive, and then maybe you'd have a death reflection somewhere in the middle of the class, or ideally in a workshop or a retreat sometime that you've actually got more time around it and you can be around for people afterwards, etc., etc. So there's more quality of care around it. And then you kind of come out again afterwards with, again, some more embodiment practice that could be fun and enjoyable, etc., etc. So yeah, it's very easy to just kind of follow traditions and habits of, yeah, I would do the relaxation at the end, and by the way, you're all going to die. Oh, what? Yeah, you know. So yeah, you know, obviously using humor can help, but it can be again quite a depth charge to do it just at the end. So you know, and again, making sure that you give the health and safety warnings at the beginning. That just checking people actually want to do it, and you can also give people, make sure you give people opt out so they can choose not to do the practice. Like somebody that was on the session after we'd done the whole health and safety thing, they said, actually, I've decided I don't want to do this pose today. I'm going to do another one. Thank you for letting me have an opt out. So just an example of how that can help. Also, you can tell people like, look, you can just do a normal relaxation instead. If you don't want to be reflecting on this now, you can just lie down and let the thoughts, my words, pass over you, and you can focus on your breathing instead. Not everybody wants to dive in depth to it. Like Mark and I used to teach EYP classes on a Monday night. After the end of a long day on a Monday, sometimes the last thing people wanted to do is stare at the soul and go, we're doomed, I'm going to die, I don't want to do it, you know. And other times it was just the thing that they wanted and needed. So it's context, knowing your students, knowing who you work with, understanding where they're at, and letting them know what you're doing and why, and make sure you've got support around. We often talk about being around after a class for a period of time afterwards so that you can check in with people and check how they are. I'm just going to check the little notes. And yeah, importantly, it's like encouraging people, you know, particularly look very in themselves, to connect with friends, with family, with somebody, to a counselor, a therapist, or some way if something has arisen. You know, always being able to direct people to, you know, what they call it, signposting towards somebody that can help with something. Because at the end of the day, sometimes working with the body, no matter what it is, it could be yes pose, a super simple pose in a sense, might reveal the deepest thing to you, or a no pose, as you know, we never know what's going to happen in any given moment. So knowing that, as well as that we can die and we can live, but knowing that, it's like, okay, turning towards that, really allowing people to be aware of that and be ready for that as much as you can. And you're never going to know for sure. Somebody asked for micro poses. Do you know what? I've not given any thought for a micro pose to death. That's a really good one. It's like, right, look in the mirror and go like this. You're going to die. No. And, you know, some people will say being aware of your breath, you know, the in-breath and the out-breath. You know, every breath, it's more like a reflection in a way. It's like every breath, you're closer to your death. Yeah. And so that's like a mini reflection. It's like, oh, okay, right, what do I want to do now then? Can wake you up if you're a bit sleepy. Yeah, Lisa was saying maybe not the best to do this in an online yoga class, no room for aftercare. Now, often in my yoga classes, I'll say to people, even an online one, say, look, I'm around here at the end. Does anyone want to connect to me about? They've usually got my phone number, my email. And any of you, if you want to connect with me for any reason, just look up Vidyadasa on Facebook, send me a message, and I'll be there, you know, to connect if you need to. And if I can't help you, I'll direct you somewhere. So genuinely mean that. Yeah. Something else I haven't mentioned. Yeah, I think also reminding people of change. You know, it's like change is always possible. You know, until we're actually in our funeral casket or being burnt alive, or hopefully not alive, being burnt dead in those, what do you call it, being cremated, there's always a possibility for change. And that in itself can be a really good reminder of the possibility of transformation and turning towards joy, you know. So actually, I would suggest you all kind of have a little bit of a shake. You know, this has been a very sort of body and head kind of thing. So have a little bit of a move around, and in a few moments, Christina or Steve will kind of wrap up things. And if you've got any other questions or anything, feel free to put it there. Lucia, just closing the eyes, lights go out. Oh, nice. Yeah, like it. If you like, you know, think about one movement or something that will help you enjoy the rest of your day. Me, I'm going to go. Yay, enjoy the sun. Taking up space, letting the sun come on me. So choose some posture you already know and like, and just go, yeah, remind yourself you're fully alive. Move around. You're not dead, you're alive. Feel your breathing. Jump around like a kid on a trampoline. Not all doom and gloom. You're alive. Yeah. There we go. So that's probably enough for me for now. And Christina or Steve, you want to chime in there?
Thank you, Vidyadasa. It's always a pleasure to experience you teach this because it's really so deeply embodied and integrated. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed your way of teaching. Yeah, just a couple of things, and then I want to finish actually handing back to you for maybe a final word. But also to remind you, if anyone feels inspired suddenly to be like, wow, this work goes so deep, I really love this, and you want to really learn how to guide others into that, there are 3 different types of trainings we offer as well. And I've done the yoga teacher training at the time, but there are 2 different versions that have been created, tailored to needs of integrating it into the coaching context, would be one other alternative. And the other one is simply for self-development. So if you don't feel like you want to do the full-on teacher training to become a yoga teacher or EYP teacher, in that sense, there's also an option to dive into it for yourself and simply explore these poses and have the entire menu and descriptions and everything. If you're a coach and you think this is really valuable for you to work with your clients, there is a version available that gives you much more guidance on how to bring that into the coaching context in a safe way, how to design little sequences, possibly how to design homework for your clients, how to go through these more maybe even intuitive processes of which pose might work here. What is the pose that I might use to gain more insight, or even as a developmental sort of guideline towards somewhere. And the third option, thanks Steve for bringing that up, is the actual teacher training, which encompasses a few more elements because it really looks at how to bring it into the yoga context in a safe way, and how to create classes, how to create an entire flow, and what Vidyadasa was saying about the U curve, how to design it in a way that feels safe, most beneficial to your students, how you can really promote deep insights. And like we keep saying, if we have one problem with this entire thing is it works too well. So what's really valuable is to have a community behind the entire trainings as well, that you'll be part of then. The Facebook groups, but also the monthly calls, and to learn from peers, from other teachers and students. And for myself, I mean, on this week right now, I've learned so much just by watching other people teach. And yeah, the community is beautiful. And I don't know, Vidyadasa, would you like to add anything? Because I know you've pretty much created the courses as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's a real deep dive into that thing, and it was a real pleasure and honor to be part of that process of organizing the filming, and we filmed it live in a teaching in Brighton and added all sorts of extra content as well. Yeah, there's a lot there. It's a really good resource to kind of keep coming back to, both in terms you've got the theory, there's videos about the theory, there's loads of PDFs, there's questions and answers, there's examples of live workshops where we're doing really deep work in a group or in partnerships or in single, or if you're a yoga teacher, there's also got things about using it for acro yoga, hatha yoga, yin yoga, all sorts of different ways as well. And you can take it in your own time. And I think it's really nice. You can go, okay, I'm going to do this practice, then slowly go through it in a way that suits you. And I'm kind of like the admin for the course. So it's like you can send me email and we can have a Zoom call, etc., etc. So I really enjoy meeting the people going through the training and helping them in what they're doing. So yeah, it's great. Dive in if you're ready and willing. And if you've got any questions, me a message in Facebook Messenger and we'll connect. But yeah, pleasure being
Amazing.
here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, V. And also to let you know, we still have an entire day ahead, a day and a half to go. And I quickly want to let you know what's coming up next, which is rest pose, or learning how to, Steve's pulling it up again. You're so quick. Learning how to actually pause, which personally I found a revelation as well. And it's going to be Jane teaching that. I personally really enjoy Jane's way of teaching as well. So check it out if you're curious to learn that. And then we have the openness pose coming next, how to be more embracing, accepting, welcoming what's there, and finishing the day, at least in some time zones, with Joker, which can surprisingly be challenging for some. I personally love it. And I think Melissa is going to have a treat for you. But yeah, maybe for some of you, it might be an edge. So check that out. And tomorrow morning, it's going to be back to me. I'm going to teach pushing pose, developing drive, which could lead either way. It could be like pushing more or less in your life, depending on what you do. And with that, if you feel like this could be valuable to any of your friends, send them the link. And they still have a day and a half. And also the recordings are still up for that time. So that's it for me. And yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like to?
Enjoy your day. Do something you love doing, and eat something you enjoy. Be with somebody you enjoy, etc., etc. Have fun. Live life.
And see you all soon. Thank you so much, V. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Christine.
Geen bedankt. Dag iedereen.